Is this on? Hi, I'm Nate, your exquisite host. This is a podcast where some of us love new things. This is the first episode with an outline. Down in the description box below will be timestamps of the sections in this podcast and links to any articles I cite. A person in my family got the first dose of the vaccine. I know I'm more in a rural. I'm more in a rural place here in the U.S. and there aren't a lot of vaccines distributed, but thankfully this person in my family has gotten the vaccine, and it's great. So new year, new things happening, and so now that I have more time, hopefully this whole outline thing is going to go great. But so outline, I talked about it last week. Let's go. So what's happened in my life for the past week since I last talked to you guys? I was working. I work at the my university's library. I didn't really do much. I only worked 3.5 hours a day and did nothing. But hey, I got paid to do nothing. Think about that. Modern problems require modern solutions. I also, during this week, I have been prepping for school to start back up, which starts tomorrow. The day I'm recording this is Monday, the day that you'll hear it be put out. Also, I'm going to try and edit some things more professionally for this podcast. Usually I've just been throwing the raw, normalized audio into Premiere and fading in and out a music track below it, and then just throwing the thumbnail on top of this. With this, I will be, when we get towards the end of the podcast, I will be doing top posts of Reddit this week that I picked out. I think there are 3 posts. If not, there are probably 2. I will be editing and throwing those pictures up on the screen if you guys have time to look at them. If you're driving, do not look at them. That is dangerous. Don't use your phone while driving. So again, with this week, I've also been writing out the outline. I am a major procrastinator, so I wrote this outline yesterday when I should have probably done it Friday. But the outline will help me with filler words, so I'm not going and but like. So it's really snowy, and also I have Achilles tendonitis. That's the big old tendon on the back of your heel flares up, and it's hard to flex it. And I go back to work tomorrow, and there is a lot of walking is required, and right now I can barely take a step, so I don't even know how that's going to figure out. I'm probably going to have to text my boss or something like that, which is not going to be good because it's the first day back to work. Fantastic. Or I'm going to have to find like some icy hot or like a wrap or something like that, because it's going to suck because I have to walk to work because it's a university. I could drive to work, but that'd just be a waste of gas, and I don't have a parking pass. So, oops. Well, I could park in the parking lot, but the probability of me getting towed is pretty freaking high, and I don't want to risk that. So now on to my activities. So, what have I been doing, like hobbies wise, during the week? Well, I moved back into my humble abode of my apartment. Which is just fantastic. I really like this apartment. Just kidding. This apartment is nice. My neighbors, I imagine they're good people, but they partake in recreation that breaks our lease, and we also have shared air, which means I get a secondhand high, basically, and it really sucks because as a broke college student, well, I'm not broke, as a college student who is trying to save money and is getting constantly munchies from a secondhand high. That's not funny, you guys. So please partake in your recreational activities somewhere else other than your apartment. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So before I moved back out, I guess this really isn't pertaining to this week, but it's been on my mind during this week. I watched the Blade Runner movies, which I thought, in my head, I was probably like, man, Blade Runner seems like a boring-ass movie. It's like film noir. It's like a sci-fi noir movie. And I've watched noir movies, and it's just not my thing, but sci-fi is my thing. Ridley Scott, who directed Aliens, directed the first Blade Runner movie in 1982 with Harrison Ford. And it is just a fantastic movie. I'll give you like, I don't know. I don't want to give it away. Basically, it's set in November of 2019. They're in a dystopian future. Blade Runners are basically detectives who hunt down replicants. And replicants are, there's these things called Nexus 6, which is the type of replicant. They're supposed to be like humans, be more like us. And the way you can tell replicant is through questioning and stuff. And that's what Harrison Ford's character does, Deckard. That's what Deckard does as a Blade Runner. And he questions them. But the only reason he is a Blade Runner is that these replicants basically are human-like slaves that are robots. And what they do is they work off-world on different planets to gain materials and stuff for people on-world to do their things. But sometimes they get a little feisty and then run away. So that's what Deckard does as a Blade Runner, is he searches and hunts down rogue replicants. But the rest of the movie is fantastic. There's a lot of hints to Deckard's future as who he is. But the one you definitely have to watch is the 2007 final cut version of the 1982 film, because that's the way Ridley Scott intended his thing to be. If you watched like the 1982 version, it's super different from like the 1992 version, but the 2007 final cut version is definitely the way you want to watch it, because it makes the most sense to what I'll be talking about next, is the Blade Runner 2049 movie, which came out in 2017. It has Ryan Gosling in it and Ana de Armas. Ana de Armas is like this. She plays this character. Her name is Joy, Joi. She is an AI that learns to love Ryan Gosling's character, K. Constant K. K is a Blade Runner who is a replicant. Which is kind of good and bad. But this movie is also a noir film, produced by Andrew A. Kassav. And it's just another fantastic movie. I thought I was jumping on the bandwagon watching these movies, and really it's just a really, really, really good movie series. I really wasn't expecting it to be that good. I thought it was just kind of like a artsy, crafty kind of thing that people hopped onto. But if it's a bandwagon, I'm hopping onto it, because these movies are really, really good. The action, the grit of the main characters, the love interests, the story is really good. It is also based off a Blade Runner is based off a book, and the book is called Do Androids Dream... No. The 2049 is the story of Hampton Lansdowne Fisher. But the book that Blade Runner is based off of is a book based off of Philip K. Dick. And he wrote, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And that's what Blade Runner is based off of. It is in my Amazon cart right now. I'm thinking about buying it because I like books. I have a problem with books, actually. I don't have a bookshelf, which sucks. I'd like to have a bookshelf. I would really like to have a bookshelf. I looked at my local thrift store. They had a pretty crappy bookshelf, and they wanted like $15-16 for it. And I was like, I can't do it. But I have a problem with books. I have a problem with having books and then not reading them, which is actually, there's a Japanese term for it. I'm going to Google it right now. Having books and not reading them. Sundoku is in acquiring reading materials but letting them pile up in one's home without reading them. It's also used to refer to books ready for what? It is also used to refer to books ready for reading later when they're on a bookshelf. So Sundoku is not a hoarding problem. It is a good thing. It's acquiring reading materials but letting them pile up in one's home without reading them. It's also used to refer to books ready for reading later when they're on a bookshelf. So when I'm older and have children and don't have time to play video games, I can sit down and read a good book. Huh. So yeah, Blade Runner is based off a book series by Philip K. Dick. Just one book by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream? Damn it, I forgot the name of the... Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? It was right there. It was in my head, but I just couldn't. Also, some hobbies that I've been doing this week. I finished the whole Lego Harry Potter video game series. That was over the course of the mid-December to a couple days ago. Saturday. I finished it Saturday. I made sure I wanted to platinum both things. I got the game from a local game seller in my hometown, and I had it for about $14. I was super stoked about that because playing Lego Harry Potter is a huge nostalgia for me. I played Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4 and 5 through 7 on the Wii when they came out, in the years that they came out. It was also a very huge bonding experience with my mom because she likes the Harry Potter books, and movies, and we just bonded playing the Harry Potter games. And I thought that during Christmas break, I knew that she'd be working from home due to certain circumstances of the world right now, that we would play the Lego Harry Potter games, and we did. And then when I came back home for college, I platinumed 5 through 7. I platinumed 1 through 4. If you don't know what platinuming means, on the PlayStation 4, there's these things called achievements, and every time you do something special in a video game, it awards you with an achievement. It can be gold, silver, or bronze, and depending on the difficulty of the challenge, it'll reward you bronze, silver, or gold. And those have points associated with them that go to kind of like a gamer score / gamer level in the PlayStation community. And when you've completed every challenge on the list, your final trophy you get is a platinum trophy. And that kind of shows the community and your friends saying like, hey, I did the best I could and finished everything in this game, got 100% via PlayStation, and finished it completely all the way through. So that's what I did for Harry Potter, the Lego games, basically 1 through 7. And it was a collector's edition that I got. So years 1 through 7 all on one disc. Fantastic. I also, another game that I got at that local game store was Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which I finished within a couple days because it's fairly a shorter game compared to their big brother games, the Uncharted series 1 through 4, which was basically the first games I ever played next to The Last of Us. I had a friend, his name was Landon, and he introduced me to playing on the PlayStation, and one of the first games he introduced me to was The Last of Us, which, let me tell you, being a 13-year-old and playing that game scared the living crap out of me, because it was one of the first horror, in quotes, horror games that I ever played, because it was dark and scary. But I've played The Last of Us like 6 times through, and I've only played The Last of Us 2 times through, but I did platinum The Last of Us 2. But I do want to try and go back through it playing groundbreaking mode, which is one of the hardest ways you can play it. You can also play groundbreaking mode in Uncharted, and those are fantastic games. 1 through 4, I would say my favorite. 2. I would say 2. Uncharted 2 is probably my favorite, but all of them are my favorite. But I never had the chance or wanted to play The Lost Legacy, which is kind of like, if you're watching Star Wars, they have like the main episodes 1 through 9, but then they also have like Star Wars stories, which is like Solo and Rogue One. This is basically an Uncharted story, The Lost Legacy, which features Chloe and Nadine, which were at one point in the Uncharted 1 through 4, they were basically antagonists. But you get to see them like in a new light, and then you get to see Nathan's, the main character in Uncharted 1 through 4 is Nathan Drake, and in this series you get to see his brother Sam Drake, which was featured in Uncharted 4. Like I said, I completed the game in a few days because there was only, I think, 9 chapters in that, and in like Uncharted games there's usually like 20-25 chapters. But it was a fantastic game. I'll have to play through it again to try and platinum it, because it's such a good game. I'm a sucker for action adventure games that have collectibles in them. That's why I like the Lego games so much, is because there's collectibles after collectibles after collectibles. But what I also did is I watched the Harry Potter movies, which is nuts. Me and my mom, we watched those. Occasionally my brother would come in and watch with us too. But those are great, by David Yates, with some help with J.K. Rowling, the original author of the books. I actually have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, book 1, right here, which has been sitting on my desk for quite a while because I keep procrastinating. I like reading. I truly do. But when it comes down to it, I think school conditioned me not to like books, not to like reading books, because in grade school, they had this thing called AR, accelerated reading, and what you had to do is every week you had to read a book, take a test, and then that was the bane of my existence. I absolutely hated AR, and I think if I clear that out of my mind and I just sit down, because I do have the attention span to read a book. I do, because like I said, when I went back to work last week for 3.5 hours every day and did nothing, I'm at a library, so I read a book. And I actually sat down for 3.5 hours and read a book, which is, it sounds so millennial of me to say that, like, I actually sat down and read a book. Oh my gosh, guys, I should put this on my Instagram and tweet it or something like that. No, I actually sat down and read a book, which is very substantial for me. Like I said in past episodes of the Some of Us podcast, I've been trying to regain my sense of attention span. But for some reason, when I'm in the nice tender home of my apartment, my humble abode, my ball and chain, I have no way to sit down and read a book. Maybe it's because all these distractions, computers, phones, my PlayStation, my Switch, it's just distracting. But with this Harry Potter series, I sat down and I watched all the movies, all 8 of them. Technically, there are 7 books, but technically there are 7 parts, but the 7th movie is split into 2, so the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. But I watched them, and they're freaking amazing. They're so good. They're up there with me for Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. They're just all fantastic. Which is a funny thing. I was born in an age where all these movies came out. I'm not saying that I was born in the 70s. I'm not like 50 years old or anything. But 50 or 40 years old. I'm saying that, I'm a pretty young guy. The prequels came out when I was born, including The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Like, what the heck? Oh, another movie I'm excited for is Dune. But since movie theaters are closed, it's only coming out on HBO Max, which is a little annoying because I don't want to pay for HBO Max just to watch Dune. So I hope that movie comes out on Blu-ray or something. Or if it comes out on Prime, I'm going to buy it instead of rent it because I've heard the Dune books are fantastic, another sci-fi series. But I've never read them. I don't know the synopsis of them. I'm usually a movie buff, not really like a book buff. So usually I'll watch the movie before I read the book, which apparently is a backwards thing to do, but that's okay. Also, other things I've been watching is anime. There's always a certain stigma to males my age with beards who watch anime. But I don't see it as like a bad stereotype or a bad stigma, because it's just cartoons in a different language. And honestly, I don't think that should be looked down upon. You like what you like. So I wrote down, I Googled and wrote down some good animes I should watch from Netflix and Prime. I also I don't have a Crunchyroll subscription. By the way, Crunchyroll is being bought out by Funimation, Sony's anime subscription service. But it's going to stay Crunchyroll. It is an anime subscription service, kind of like Netflix or like Hulu, Disney Plus, but it's specifically for anime. And I know there's a huge thing about watching it with subtitles or watching it dubbed with English-speaking people. I'm going to watch it with subtitles, listen to it in Japanese, and read the subtitles in English, because I think that's what the creators originally intended it for, and it also helps make my attention span a lot better. That way I'm reading what's actually going on, and I think it's really cool to listen to other people speak in different languages. But I got a Crunchyroll, and apparently you don't have to pay for the subscription service. You can watch things for free, but it has like ad breaks in them, and they're not like 1080p, they're only 480p. But the nice thing is that I can watch it on my phone, and since my phone has such a high resolution and a smaller screen, it'll look a bit crisper than me trying to watch it on like a computer or watch it on a TV. But that's what I've been doing. I started watching Naruto Shippuden, which if any of you are my age, born in the 90s or older, you know who Naruto is. It's kind of like a ninja anime. I've only started watching the first like couple episodes, so I can't tell you what it's all about. Sorry. Some other things I've been watching is Manhunt. deadly games. It's a manhunt series. The first manhunt series I watched was about the Unabomber, which is they're both dramatized series of actual events that happened in real life. This is about Richard Jewell. In the 90s, in 1995, 96, the Olympics were being held in Atlanta, and he was just some part-time security guard and noticed that there was a bomb. And unfortunately, the media and the FBI portrayed him to be the bomb maker, which ruined his whole entire life. And the show also shows what the FBI is going through, what Richard Jewell is going through, what the bomber is going through, and how he starts bombing other places. Fantastic show. I watched like the first 8 episodes last night. I stayed up until like 12 watching them. I started watching at like 1 in the afternoon. So I almost spent like a whole 12 hours watching this. And there's 3 episodes left, which is fantastic. I'll probably watch these once I'm done editing this. But the other show in that series is called Unabomber. In the 70s, there was a guy who would bomb universities and ended up serial bombing a lot of people. His name was Ted Kaczynski. And what they show in this dramatized series is how they caught him using dialectical processes, and how they caught him and how he spoke and how he wrote his letters. And they ended up finding him in the woods, living by himself, occasionally going out to the nearest thing. But apparently Ted Kaczynski is like this super smart guy, and he's a psychopath, and those do not mix well if you're in the wrong hands. But dramatized series really get me. There's also another series on Netflix called Mindhunter. There are 2 seasons, and they're about these 2 guys in the FBI who helped coin the Behavioral Science Unit, the BSU. And these characters are based off real life people who helped coin the term serial killer. So, a lot of fun. Also, podcasts I would like to recommend. I was listening to them while I was doing the Lego Harry Potter series. On Spotify, I've been listening to My Favorite Murder by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. They're fantastic ladies. I haven't been listening to their longer podcasts, which is about serial killers, but they have a short mini series called their mini series, where fans write into them about hometown murders, things they found in walls, just crazy crap, or serial killers related to them or something like that. Another hobby that I've gone into, this is still my activities section. Another hobby that I've gone into was Gunpla. If you don't know what Gunpla is, it's short for Gundam Plastic. I think that's what it is. Gundams are these models. It also is based off of an anime in the 80s. There are these giant mech suits and stuff. Yes, Gunpla is short for Gundam Plastic Model. But they look like, if you don't know what they look like super cool Transformers, but they're not Transformers. There are these giant mech suits that these anime characters sit into, but they're models, and they're snap together models. That way I don't have to deal with huffing paint fumes trying to put these models together. Do not huff paint fumes. Bad for you. That way I'm not sitting in paint fumes. That way I don't have to worry about, dirtying up the place. All you need is some nippers, which nip the pieces out of the plastic holders when you get them in the box. Like a nail file to file down the nubs that are on the pieces, and some tweezers. And money. Only bought 2 Gunpla. They're fantastic. This white one with wings is my favorite. There are different levels of Gunpla based on how hard they are, to make. And so far my favorite one was the hardest one, which really sucks because I really messed it up. He's got these like really cool wings that can move and stuff. And unfortunately I snipped the wrong piece and I bought some E6000 glue, and I should probably glue the wing back on better. It is on, very, very stable. But that's what I've been doing. Unfortunately, there aren't any hobby stores or craft stores where I am in this small university town, which is super unfortunate. I'll just have to buy Gunpla on Amazon. But this is a hobby that I found out after Christmas, which kind of stinks because it would have been nice to find out this hobby before Christmas so I could ask for it for a Christmas list or something like that. But they're super fun. You can buy these, like, they call them action stands. You can clip them on the action stands and they do like super cool action moves. But it's just very rewarding. You put in 3 to 5 hours putting these things together, and when they're done, it's like, wow, look at that. I made that. It's kind of like Legos. They're really fun. One game that I've been playing, I haven't played in a couple days, but I have playing, is Lara Croft Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which again is the gameplay is pretty close to Uncharted, action adventure with collectibles, but the gameplay is slightly different on how the shooting mechanics is pretty different, and it feels a bit more stealthy than the Uncharted games, but that transitions into tech news time. Tech news. So in this section of the podcast, I will be talking about tech news. Hold on, let me write down a timestamp. Tech news for the timestamp. Oh yeah, so like I said at the beginning of the podcast, down in the description box below will be timestamps of the podcast. So I'm guessing that this podcast will probably be about an hour long. But if you only have like a few minutes to listen to it and you know the sections of my podcast, you just go down to the description box, click the timestamp you want. It'll be named. So like tech news started around 32 minutes. So I will be clicking, you can click on that and then it'll go straight to that, and then you can end it whenever you want. If you just want to listen to this point on to the end of the podcast, go ahead. It's up to you. But starting with PlayStation, some tech news. As you all know, if you are a PlayStation Plus member, at the beginning of every month, they put out about 2 PlayStation 4 games, and now, since there's a PS5 out, they've put out one PS5 game, which you can't get on a PS4. But these 3 games, for the PlayStation 4, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is the Lara Croft series, Greedfall, and for the PlayStation 5, Maneater. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, again, is a Lara Croft game. Based in South America, you find some crazy South American temples, and you gather in them, and you take stuff. You're basically a really sick archaeologist. Greedfall is the other game in play. It is an action RPG game, a role-playing game, made by a AA artist. If you don't know, there are ratings on which games come out. You have AAA games, AA games, single A games, and then indie games. I don't know. I added this to my library on my PlayStation. I don't know if I'm going to download it. The developer is Spiders. The publisher is Focus Home Interactive. They have good stars. It came out in 2019, but it is an action RPG. The same gameplay. It's kind of like the newest rendition of Final Fantasy. It's just I heard it's really cool. I don't think I'll be playing it, but apparently It is a double A developer, but apparently it is a really good game. And the other game is Maneater, which Sony sent out refunds to people who bought Maneater for the PS5 before PlayStation announced it was going to be a PS Plus game. So if you have bought Maneater and then it came out on PlayStation Plus for the PS5, you will most likely be getting a refund. But that is old news. It is a single player open world RPG. This is the first time we're reading this, just so you know. Experience the ultimate power fantasy as the apex predator of the seas. You're a terrifying shark. Maneater is a single player open world action RPG, Shark PG, where you are the shark. Starting as a small shark pup, you are tasked with surviving the harsh world while eating your way to the ecosystem. To do this, you will explore a large and varied open world encountering diverse enemies, both human and wildlife. Find the right resources and you can grow and evolve far beyond what nature intended, allowing the player to tailor the shark to their playstyle. This is fortunate because you get revenge on the cruel fisherman that dismembered you. Will take evolving into a magic shark, an apex predator of legends. Eat, explore, evolve. Huh. Fully evolved for the PlayStation 5. Actually kind of sounds fun. Too bad I don't have a PlayStation 5. Which freaking sucks. But the next news is about a restock. On the website, also in the description box down below, will be labeled titles and URLs to these websites that I cite and read from. So on comicbook.com, from Tyler Fisher, which was, and he said this about 4 days ago, which is, these are probably already gone by then. But Sony, on their Sony Rewards Twitter, they tweeted saying a limited number of PS5 consoles will be available on the 15th. Stay tuned and we'll let you know when they are live on the site. You might want to turn on post notifications. Which is fantastic. Only 15,000 people liked it. But they might have only put out like 5,000 of them. But they're only putting out a limited number of PlayStation 5s. But this is the first restock of 2021. But so far, Best Buy, GameStop, and a few others have released PS5 stock for 2021. But this is Sony's first PlayStation 5 restock. Unfortunately, they are high demand. I saw somewhere, I don't remember where it's from, but I saw somewhere that scammers and scalpers have made like $48 million on selling PS5s at a super high price on like eBay and Amazon. It just really sucks because like true gamers like us, like my whole mission to buying a PS5 is buying it within a year of it coming out. Like with the PS4, I got it in 2016 as a Christmas gift and it came out in 2014. So that's 2 years. That isn't too bad. I'd like to get the PS5 within a reasonable amount because there are so many games that I want to play. Bugsnax is one of them, and Spider-Man Miles Morales is another one of them. And there are some fantastic games that are coming out this year. God of War Ragnarok, maybe a new Uncharted game, you know? Maybe I want to play The Last of Us for the 7th time or remastered on the PS5. Who knows? But in addition, Sony, it also looks like Target may emphasize on having its own PS5 restock soon, but it just really sucks. There was one time I was on Walmart, I did have the PlayStation in my cart, and the website crashed. And that's where I gave up. But next in this tech news, it sucks. It really sucks to say, but I'll be talking about Xbox news. I'm not the biggest Xbox player, although they do have some pretty okay exclusives. Really only Halo. But the only other game that I've played by the Halo developers, by Bungie, is Destiny. And I really like that, but I know Xbox is a good console. I know there are good people who play on it, but it just wasn't my kind of thing. More my cousin's thing. But this article that I will be reading from Tom's Guide by Marshall Honoraff is talking about how the Xbox Series X rechargeable battery is a huge step back. As you know, for quite some time now, ever since I think the Xbox 360, Xbox controllers have been using 2 AA batteries to power their controller, which is pretty unfortunate. That's a lot of waste product coming from that controller, and a lot of money spent on charging the controller using AA batteries, which I think in my mind is a huge setback. Having rechargeable controllers as a PlayStation user is super helpful. That way you don't have to worry about going to the store or having to stock up to buy AA batteries. And as you know, they're becoming quite expensive. But with the Xbox Series X, there's this thing that they have, which is a rechargeable battery, and it is charged by what looks like a USB-C cable. But the thing that Marshall here talks about is that he's had complimentary things to say about the Xbox Series X controller, but he says he prefers the PS5's DualSense. The Xbox Series X controller is comfortable, intuitive, and versatile. The only negative issue is that it uses wasteful, expensive AA batteries, which I just talked about. And Microsoft's official rechargeable battery pack, sold separately for $25, doesn't address this problem nearly as well as it should. Like the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One controllers, the Xbox Series X/S controller uses disposable A batteries by default rather than internal rechargeable battery packs such as those found in the PS3, the PS4, and the PS5 controllers. Without belaboring the issue, AA batteries are both wasteful and inefficient, and Marshall, is generally not thrilled that Microsoft has passed what is essentially an additional cost onto the consumer rather than just building it into the price of the controller. So the battery life of this additional $25 rechargeable battery. The one consultation that Microsoft's rechargeable battery packs have been pretty good in the past. His Xbox 360 battery pack lasted about 7 years before it started losing significant amounts of charge. His Xbox One battery pack is still going strong, and both of those battery packs also included a charging cable with an indicator light. Unlike most gaming peripherals, Xbox controllers do not have a light that indicates charge. The illuminated power button would work just fine for this application, but he digresses. The only way to check how much battery power you have left is to boot up your Xbox, check at the top home screen, or install a dedicated app on your PC. Older Xbox battery pack charging cables partly alleviated this problem. The LEDs on the cables would glow orange while the controller was charging, and either green or white once the battery was complete. While Xbox One battery packs were compatible with Xbox Series X controllers, the charging cables are not, since newer controllers use USB-C rather than the micro USB plugs. However, the Xbox rechargeable batteries plus USB-C cable for the Xbox Series X rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Marshall, you're a funny guy. It's a huge step backwards for one simple reason. There's no indicator light. He goes on to talk about different alternative charging kits and about how the LED should indicate the charging. I just think Microsoft should really step up and put in a rechargeable battery inside the controller. Like what Marshall talked about was the PS3, the PS4, and the PS5. They should have rechargeable batteries inside the controller. You shouldn't have to worry about charging your rechargeable battery and then putting it in. When I'm charging my controller, I want to be able to play while I'm charging my controller, which is unfortunate for Microsoft/Xbox Series X users. AA batteries are super inefficient and super wasteful, and it's like what Marshall said, is that it's another way to have the consumer spend more money in order to play their video games. ever since 2016, ever since I started playing with my PlayStation 4, the only complaint I've had is the last couple of days is that there's like a joystick drift, and it's lasted me 4 years. And I know that Xbox controllers last quite a while, but the thing is that their charge just isn't as good. They require AA batteries. I mean, you can buy rechargeable batteries, and you can buy multiple rechargeable batteries and just switch them in and out. Every time a pair dies, you have a new pair ready to go. But it's just like those only last a couple years, and that is really unfortunate. I do agree that with my PlayStation 4 controller, I've noticed that the battery life isn't as good as it used to be. The battery life used to last me, I don't know, a week or two, and it now only lasts me about a week, or less. Less because I've been watching a lot of streamable content, and that leaves the PlayStation controller on. But when I'm playing video games and stuff, it lasts me like a week and a half. So it really hasn't lost its charge that much, but that's unfortunate for Xbox users, and Microsoft should really step up to the plate of using rechargeable batteries inside the controller instead of having to buy like Duracell batteries or something like that. Next, on to the next tech news is PC tech news. I'm not a PC guy, but I know other people are. In an article from Rock Paper Shotgun, written by Catherine Castle, she talks about how NVIDIA's RTX 3060 will hit PCs and laptops in February. NVIDIA is, I don't know much about NVIDIA, but the GeForce, their RTX, which are GPUs, helps games run faster, helps your computer run faster. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitting stuff out my ass. But it says, hot off the heels of the RTX 3060 Ti launch at the end of last year, NVIDIA have finally announced that the regular version of the RTX 360, it'll be launching late February for $329. And that's not all either, as NVIDIA also announced that their RTX 30 series GPUs will be coming to laptops too, with RTX 3060, RTX 3070, and RTX 3080 models arriving in just a couple weeks' time. The 3060 will come with 12 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM, doubling the amount of VRAM available on the RTX 2060. This is good news for PC people who don't want to spend $800 on like a 3080 to run their GPUs. So for only like $329, not that bad. But I myself would probably save that money to buy a PS5. Just saying. Okay, let's go to some Nintendo news. There are new games coming to Nintendo, and one of them that has been highlighted recently is Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury. It is, if you haven't played Super Mario 3D World, you should. I haven't, but you definitely should. It only came out on the Wii U, and Wii U's are pretty hard to come by now. But I heard it is fantastic, and the level designs are amazing, and this is about Bowser and his fury. But it should be coming out pretty soon. I think they said next month. Will arrive next month, February 12th. Huh. Now, Nintendo has been really good with not putting out too much hype for their video games. In some news that I'll talk about here in about 10 or 15 minutes or so, there hasn't been a lot of hype for Nintendo games, which is good. Because that way you don't put too much expectation in the consumer. That way they don't have high expectations for a game that might be subpar. which I will be talking about soon. Bowser's Fury will be coming out February 12th of next month. So Nintendo, okay, this is written by Liam Doolin. Nintendo gave us a 2-minute look on Bowser's Fury for the Switch version of Super Mario 3D World. The art style is also that of Super Mario Odyssey, which if you are fans of Super Mario Odyssey, I think you'll like this game. But you can be Cat Mario in this game, which is, as you know, awesome. But Nintendo's UK website has now revealed that he's actually been, Bowser has been tainted by a mysterious black goop, which requires Mario and his unlikely companion, Bowser Jr., to travel across a series of islands on Lake Lapcat. Together they must collect cat shines, harness the power of them, and stop this new, terrifying form of Bowser. Also, Cat Mario looks like he has a Super Saiyan version of him. Super Saiyan is from DBZ, Dragon Ball Z, in which Goku transforms into like a super insane form of him. Super Saiyan. So that comes out. The next news is from Tom's Guide again, written by Denise Primbet. It also states that as with the Nintendo Switch, there was a Nintendo Switch Lite, which is the type of Nintendo Switch I have. But there's also a release date, specs, and leaks of the Nintendo Switch Pro. So this is written a couple days ago by Denise. It states that the Nintendo Switch Pro's rumors have been going on for several days now, but with 2020 now behind us, speculation surrounding a new console seems to be growing on a daily basis. With the recent release of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S and X and S, it is not unreasonable to think that Nintendo Switch might be due for an upgrade, even though it's still selling pretty dang well. If we trust the ongoing speculation, then Nintendo's next console could feature some significant hardware upgrades, with Nintendo of America presenting Doug Bowser stating, I'm not kidding you, the president of Nintendo America, his last name is Bowser. Not kidding you. He states that the Nintendo Switch is only at the midpoint of its life cycle. It makes sense that now is the best time for Nintendo to roll out a premium version of a flagship console, as opposed to replacing it with a dedicated Switch 2. Nintendo has neither announced nor even confirmed that a Switch Pro console might be inbound, but with rumors continuing to pile up, it's at least worth considering. Here's everything we know about the Nintendo Switch Pro, including specs, features, and possible release date. So the Pro news, we might see it sometime this year. Apparently there might be some 4K resolution. It might have an OLED display with an improved battery life. OLED, if you guys do not know, is if a pixel isn't being used, it'll be turned off. So that means everything that should be black is black. That's what my phone has. So if a screen has a black pixel, that pixel will be turned off. At least that's what I have been told. The release date, they're stating that the Switch Pro is nothing more than a rumor. It might be 2021. Some people predict a beefed up 4K device during Nintendo's next financial year, so that might be 2021. The original Nintendo Switch was released on 2017, with 2020 marking the Switch's 4th year anniversary. It's entirely possible that we see an upgrade console by the end of this year. The price, they suggest that it might be around $400. People are expecting to have an NVIDIA Tegra X1 processor, 720p LCD display with... Oh wait, no. The Nintendo Switch currently features an NVIDIA Tegra X1 processor, a 720p LCD display, and 32 gigs of storage. the Pro will likely feature the same processor, but it might have a bigger processor to compensate for the OLED display and the 4K capabilities. Some were saying that improved 1080p handheld what we want from the Nintendo Switch is improved 1080p handheld display, sturdier build quality, 4K docked mode, Bluetooth support for third-party accessories, which I really want. Like I said, I want to stream. I really want to stream, but I also want to stream my Switch play. And unfortunately, I cannot because there are no Bluetooth modes or any way for my Switch Lite to be gamecasted, which really sucks. But some people are saying they want a remastered version of Breath of the Wild for the Switch Pro because they want to see it in 4K. It is absolutely a beautiful game for it to be remastered. Alrighty, the next for miscellaneous tech news. What I talked about earlier was that Nintendo doesn't really hype up. They don't really hype their releases. And unfortunately, there is a game that had been hyped quite recently. It's been in the making since like 2012, and it's been hyped for the past like 2 years, with Keanu Reeves being in it. Right now, we are talking about Cyberpunk 2077, which is very unfortunate because they've lost about 70% of their player database. But CD Projekt Red, as you well know, is the developer who make the fantastic and astounding game The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt, which is probably one of my favorite games ever. There's also a Netflix show called The Witcher. Definitely go watch it. It's got Henry Cavill in it. But the CD Projekt Red boss denies reports that Cyberpunk 2077's E3 2018 demo was almost entirely fake. Written by Zarmina Khan just yesterday, states that another development on the ongoing Cyberpunk 2077 fiasco. This time, CD Projekt Red boss Adam Badowski has taken issue with reports that 2077's E3 2018 demo was fake. We've heard rumblings about this one before, but a recent report by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier suggests that the time the demo was shown off to the public, CD Projekt Red hadn't even coded gameplay systems, which is why so many ambitious features were cut before 2077 shipped. In a note on Twitter, Badowski disputed this with the following statement: "It is hard for a trade show game demo not to be a test version or a vertical slice 2 years before the game ships. But that doesn't mean it's fake. Compare the demo with the game. Look at the dum-dum scene or the car chase or many other things. What the people reading your article may not know is that the games are not made in a linear fashion and start looking like the final product only a few months before launch. If you look at the demo now, it's different styles. It's different, yes, but that's what the work in progress watermark is for. Our final game looks and plays way better than what our demo ever was." This is what Badowski tweeted. Badowski added that cutting features is standard practice during game development, and then went on to highlight all the 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 scores that 2077's PC version received. Which, the PC version of Cyberpunk has been getting great reviews because it runs good on good PCs. But if you're looking at like the console versions, like the PS4 version looks like garbage. The Xbox One version looks like garbage. Even the PS5 and the Xbox Series X versions look okay. They look like a game that was made like 4 or 5 years ago. But on the PC, looks fantastic. But also, Badowski also responded to reports of CD Projekt Red developers acknowledging that Cyberpunk 2077 wasn't ready for release. According to him, Schreier only spoke to 20 out of the 500 plus employees, which he believes does not represent the development team. Interestingly, Schreier pointed out that he contacted Badowski for a comment prior to the publication of Bloomberg's report, but didn't hear back. CD Projekt Red didn't explain why it chose to pick and comment on a few aspects of the report, only after it went live. Yeah, this is a 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is a bad case of hyping up a game, which is super unfortunate. I had super high hopes for this game, and I hope in the next year to come, maybe in the next 6 months, that Cyberpunk 2077 will look good on next-gen consoles and even PS4 and Xbox One. Of course, it looks good on a PC because you have so many factors and variables you can factor in on why it looks good. Because like your GPUs, your processors, your everything. But that unfortunately is the case of hyping up a game too early. I mean, they've been wanting to put out, they've been making and had this idea ever since like 2012, which stinks. So the next miscellaneous news we go to is Razer. On Reddit last week, or this week, I don't know, my weeks are blending together. Razer set out this thing called Project Hazel, which is, they're calling it the world's smartest mask. They said because no smart mask would be complete without a little flair, offering 16.8 million colors. So like the whole point of them is like they have like this suction cup. It looks super cool, but it is slated to be considered like an N95 mask. But they have these really cool like respirators on the side, and it has like it has a Razer Chroma RGB in it, so you can turn it to like any color if you want, and it's super cool looking. But I would imagine, and it's got this really cool like charging box that has like UV light in it, and as you know, there are certain wavelengths of UV that kill off bacteria, so they have these charging boxes set to a specific wavelength that kill off these bacteria. But you can get a white mask or a black mask. Definitely going with the black mask if I get one. But the whole thing is that the front of the mask is clear. It's a little off-putting. It is, look at it like the model's wearing them. It's a bit off-putting to see like a mask and then all of a sudden see like a little mouth under it. But the whole point of this mask is obviously to keep people safe, but also increase communication with people who are hard of hearing and are having hard times reading lips when people are wearing masks. So, but unfortunately, this might be a whole like PS5 fiasco, and then there's going to be like scalpers and scammers. So it'd be a pretty dang cool mask to get. It also kind of looks like the LG mask that LG had talked about. They thought about making a smart mask and stuff like that. But the next, I think the most fantastic news I've heard all week. In an article written by Dan Brooks, he is the senior content strategist of Lucasfilm. He states that EA no longer has sole rights in making Star Wars video games, which is freaking fantastic. If you know, some of you who might know, EA Electronic Arts has, for the past couple years, only had the sole rights. I think for the past 7 years, have only had the sole rights in making Star Wars video games, which stinks because a couple years ago, EA was in a whole actual like Supreme Court fiasco on loot boxes and on how it's bad for young children and stuff. And so it's just good that Lucasfilm is getting out of that. That way other game developers have a chance at making good Star Wars games, because there haven't been in quite a while, except for Jedi Fallen Order, which was a fantastic game. But they backed out on EA, and Ubisoft is now pretty much in charge with Massive Entertainment. But there's going to be some, I imagine there's going to be some good games coming out of that. Good Star Wars games. But also, Ubisoft with Massive Entertainment wants to make an Indiana Jones game, which I think would be pretty cool. I hope it's like a mix-up of Lara Croft and Uncharted and stuff like that. So that ends. Sorry, fellas. I'm writing down timestamp. That ends our tech news. Ta-da! So next, I promise, fellas, we're almost done. Next is top of Reddit this week, / top memes of Reddit. There we go. Open up, please. Reddit is a social media that has been pretty controversial, but for the past forever, ever since it came out. But I think it is one of my favorite social medias. It's like an alternative media. But there's this meme, I'll throw it up on the screen now, as you can see, by user God himself. It's got 176,000 upvotes. Number 1 on Meme of the Week. The title is "These Are Confusing Times," and you can see it's a cat with a little buffer on his head. Forget everything you learned in college, but you won't need it working here. But I didn't go to college. Well, then you're unqualified for this job. Excuse me. The top comment says, "Why do I need experience to gain experience to be able to get my first job to gain experience?" Preach, dude. By Oxdox1. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I need to, when I get this job, you need to forget everything you learned in college. You know, you won't need it working here. But I didn't go to college. Well, then you're unqualified for this job. Fortunately, I know some people who have been in this situation, and it really stinks. They should, employers should really, throw that out there. You know, really expound upon what they mean by that. The next meme, or I think it's a meme. Yes, the next meme coming up may or may not get me demonetized, but by user Jesus Slayer 903. God himself and Jesus Slayer 903. Wow. Interesting names, boys, but this is number 3 of Meme of the Week with 156,000 upvotes. YouTube put out like a harassment thing saying, if it continues after saying no, that's harassment. YouTube Premium. What do you mean? Yeah, every day I open up YouTube, which is my prime source of media. Every time I open it, it's always, try YouTube Premium. It's like, they always have like clever solutions on like hiding the no button. No, YouTube. I do not want to join your premium. I don't. I really don't. Thank you, Jesus Slayer 903. Oh, jeez. Okay, this next one isn't a meme. This next one is more of a, the flair on this post is called politics, but it is a picture of some movers bringing in boxes to the White House, showing that a new turn for the new POTUS is coming in. Whether it be good or bad, I do not know. I guess we'll see in the next 2 years to come. But there's that picture. I was trying to determine what these pallets were, if they were like, but they just look like giant flat boxes. But boy, that's got a lot of awards. Holy crap. Holy smokes. Alright, that ends Reddit Meme Week. Alrighty. Alright. So this is the next section called In My Opinion. This is a section where I talk about a song that I'd like to suggest. It's my opinion, so it's not wrong, it's not right, it's just my thing. In my opinion, this is a game that you should play. It is a AAA title game made by Santa Monica Studios. Cory Barlog. Director is Cory Barlog. But it's God of War. There have been many God of Wars made before this, which was just like a button mashing game. But this one is absolutely fantastic. I played through it about 2 times, but I'd really like to platinum it. But there's just one really hard part of the game, are the Valkyries, which are like 9 bosses you have to defeat, and it's really hard. Even on like super easy mode, it's really hard. If you haven't played God of War, seriously go play it, or at least watch someone play it, because it is so good. The story is fantastic. It's just so, I don't know how to explain it. The story, I'm a real sucker for a good story in a video game, and it's just phantasmic. So, yeah. If you hear silence, it's just me writing down timestamps. So, this is my goodbye. Thank you guys so much for listening to this newer version of the Some of Us podcast. I know it's a bit longer than my usual ones. This one's clocking probably in about an hour and 15 minutes. But it's just, I really like all of you right now who are supporting me. Mostly my mom and my dad and my brother. Thank you guys so much. It means quite a lot to me. So if you know, in the description box below, go follow me on Twitter at Gussel4, on Instagram at somio.fuss. And if you're feeling generous, donate to my Patreon. Become a tier member. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and if you want to get notified when I upload, there's a little bell next to the red subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that. So at this time, some of us have to... I hope you continue being some of us, because there aren't a lot of us. Thank you.